Have you ever watched an anime or read a manga and thought, who approved this chaos? Like, seriously, the plot so bad that it feels like it was written on 2 hours of sleep in a can of Monster. Let's talk about it. There are about, let's see, one, two, three, four, five manga slash animes that I feel like should have never even got off the concept of a piece of paper. Let's see. Which one am I gonna start with first? Fuck it. Let's do the most famous one that everybody knows about that came out a few years ago, Redo of the Healer. All right, so let's talk about Redo of the Healer, aka the anime that makes Game of Thrones look like a bedtime story. This show deadass said, what if revenge wasn't just served cold, but came with a side of psychological trauma and a lawsuit waiting to happen? Like, who watched this and thought, yeah, this is what the genre needed? The plot is basically, I got hurt, so now I'm gonna hurt everyone twice as hard in every possible way. The main character, Kayoru, I don't know, is what happens when you give a healer OP powers and a grudge list longer than a Naruto filler episode. Instead of using his time travel reset for, I don't know, saving the world or fixing his childhood trauma, he's out there playing GTA Medieval Edition. And don't get me started on the moral compass. Oh wait, there isn't one. The show is just vibes, and those vibes are straight out of a do not disturb section of Crunchyroll. It's like someone spun a wheel of bad ideas and said, yep, all of the above. Look, I get it. Dark fantasy can be edgy, but Redo of the Healer skipped edgy and went straight to a therapy required for everyone involved. If you made it through this whole thing, congratulations. You're either unbothered or emotionally unavailable. Okay, next on the list is literally any NTR manga. Any of them. Alright, so let's talk about NTR, also known as Netroraserare? Netroraserare? If you don't know what it is, count yourself lucky, just like me. But here's a quick rundown. It's a genre where someone's partner gets, let's say, stolen by someone else, usually in the messiest, most emotionally scarring way possible. Think of it as the anime equivalent of watching your favorite character betray you in real time, except the betrayal is the whole point. Now with that out the way, let's dive into Netroraserare? I don't shit. A manga that takes NTR and says, what if we made it even worse? The story follows a guy who willingly hands his wife over to another man thinking it'll spice things up, only to sit back and watch everything spiral into chaos. It's like he woke up one day and decided to be the villain of his own story. The main character, a walking disaster of bad decisions. His idea of love is so twisted that you would think Cupid hit him with a boomerang instead of an arrow. And his wife, she's just rolling with it like, sure honey, whatever makes you happy. Meanwhile, the readers everywhere are screaming, this is not how you fix your marriage. The art, honestly, the art is pretty good, which somehow makes the emotional damage hit harder. The plot, it's like watching a soap opera on steroids. Every page is packed with drama, heartbreaks, and regret that'll leave you side-eyeing your own relationship. If you're curious about NTRs and want a crash course in emotional pain, this manga will deliver. Just don't read it in public unless you want people questioning your taste and your sanity. Oh man, I'm getting tired of seeing this little bastard already. Alright, so let's talk about Rent a Girlfriend, the anime and manga that's somehow still running, despite being one of the most frustrating experiences you can legally subject yourself to. This series said, what if we made an entire story about a guy who simps so hard it defies logic, reasoning, and basic human dignity? Enter Kazuya, the human embodiment of a cringe compilation. This man rents a girlfriend. Yes, you heard that right. Rents a girlfriend, and then proceeds to fall in love with her while still being obsessed with his ex, who's somehow worse than him. The dude's life is a disaster, and instead of fixing it, he doubles down on his terrible decisions. Chizuru, the rental girlfriend, is somehow the functional human in this story, and even she can't escape the gravitational pull of Kazuya's stupidity. She's out here working hard to fund her acting dreams while Kazuya is busy crying into his pillow and overthinking text like an Olympic sport. And let's not forget the love polygon from hell. Every girl in this series deserves therapy, and every guy deserves, well, a restraining order. The plot doesn't progress, it just loops. It's like Groundhog's Day, but instead of character growth, you get an endless awkward dates and Kazuya making the worst possible choices every single time. The real kicker, this story has dragged on for so long that even the author seems confused about what he's doing. At this point, the series isn't even about romance anymore. It's about seeing how much secondhand embarrassment you can endure before tapping out. If you enjoy shouting, "Why are you like this?" at a fictional character and watching a train wreck in slow motion, Rent a Girlfriend is the gift that keeps on giving. For everyone else, save yourself the headache and just rent a good anime instead. Akame Ga Kill, the anime that took Anyone Can Die and ran with it like it was trying to win a marathon. This series starts off like a typical shonen. Plucky protagonist joins a group of rebels to fight against a evil empire, but then says, what if we made this Game of Thrones but more edge and less logic? Let's start with the cast. Night Raid. They're supposed to be elite assassins, but half of them feel like they graduated from Stormtrooper Academy of Bad Decisions. Sure, they look cool, but when it comes to strategies, it's mostly just charge in and hope we don't die. Spoiler alert, they always die. And the deaths? Oh, they're brutal. But instead of making you cry, they leave you going, wait, that's it? That's how they went out? One moment a character is getting this big emotional monologue, and then the next they're being split in half by a random giant scissor. It's less tragic and more like the show is speed running his own body count. Tatsumi, our protagonist, is about as interesting as plain toast. He's there to be generic and sad while the actual cool characters get killed off faster than you can learn their names. Meanwhile, Akame, who's the show is named after, gets about as much screen time as a side character in their own series. And let's not forget Esda, the psycho ice queen who's so over the top she feels like she's wandering in from a completely different anime. Her whole character is, I'm evil, I'm hot, and I want the blandest boy in the room. Honestly, she deserves better than this mess. The show's pacing is like a car with no brakes, rushing to kill off everyone before you even get attached. By the end, it feels like a rebellion against tyranny and more like a poorly planned Hunger Games fanfic. If you're into shock value, over the top fights and characters dropping like flies, Akame Ga Kill might be your thing, but don't expect a coherent plot or emotional payoff. It's all edge and no substance. Oh, God of High School. This anime had so much hype when it first came out with that first trailer. That anime said, story? Who needs a story when we have sick ass fight scenes? This series had so much hype going in. You hear high school martial arts tournament and you're expecting some top tier choreography and maybe a sprinkle of character development. Instead, what you get is pure chaos, plot holes you can drive a tank through, and a lore dump so heavy it feels like homework. So let's start with the tournament. At first, it's all about high schoolers throwing hands, right? Cool, we're on board with that. But then halfway through, someone summons a literal god, and suddenly we're watching Dragon Ball Z on fast forward. It's like the writers got bored of their own premise and decided to cram 3 different genres into one show. The protagonist, Jin Mori, is your classic OP shonen hero with about as much personality as a generic protein shake. He's good at fighting, really good, but don't ask him about his motivation or backstory because even he probably doesn't know. And his 2 friends, they're there to just fill the team quota and occasionally remind us that they exist before being sidelined by yet another ridiculous fight. Speaking of fights, the animation is god tier. Like, Mappa absolutely ate with the choreography. Every punch, kick, and energy blast is pure eye candy. But here's the thing, no amount of Sakuga can save a story that feels like it was written by pulling ideas out of a hat. The pacing is so breakneck that you'll get whiplash. And good luck keeping track of the plot because it jumps everywhere. I don't even remember half of the stuff that even happened in that show. Only thing I remember is the fights. The story, can't remember a single thing. Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time. Oh boy, where do I even start with this dumpster fire of a story? This show is like walking into a fantasy world expecting epic battles and character growth, only to find yourself trapped in the anime equivalents of a bad adult comedy written on the back of a napkin. So here's the setup. Peter Grill is supposedly the strongest man in the world. Cool, right? Wrong. Instead of doing anything remotely heroic, this man struggle is trying to keep every single woman in the kingdom, from ogres to elves, out of his pants. I am not joking. The plot is literally just how can Peter avoid cheating on his fiance while every female character throws themselves at him like it's a sport. First of all, Peter, my guy, he had one job. Like, you're engaged to a sweet, naive girl who thinks babies come from holding hands. And instead of protecting her honor, you're out here failing every loyalty test like it's a full-time job. My mans would have never survived the loyalty tests in public. I swear, if breathing required discipline, this man would have suffocated. And let's talk about the women in this show. They're not characters, they're walking, talking tropes with one goal: to jump Peter. There's no depth, no development, just a revolving door of fantasy stereotypes acting like he's the last bottle of water in the desert. It's not funny, it's just sad. The writing, non-existent. It's basically a series of increasingly ridiculous scenarios where Peter's willpower, of lack of thereof, is put to the test. But let's be real, this man has the self-control of a dog in a steakhouse. Every episode feels like a checklist of how can we embarrass this guy even more. The animation, serviceable, but who cares? Nobody's watching this for the art. The dialogue, half of it is just moaning and bad excuses. The comedy, I've seen more subtlety in a middle school bathroom graffiti. By the end, you're not even rooting for Peter anymore. You're rooting for his fiance to wake up and leave him and move on with her life. If this is the philosopher's time, I'd hate to see their off hours. The show isn't a guilty pleasure, it's just guilty. If you're wasting time and brain cells, Peter Grill is perfect for you. But for everyone else, watch literally anything else. And there you have it, some of the most special plot animes and mangas that have departed to throw at us, whether it's Peter Grill's intense negotiations, Kiyoru's questionable quest for justice, or the wild nonsensical tournaments and God of High School. They all hold a special place in our what even is this Hall of Fame. But hey, even bad plots have a way of bringing us together. Maybe you will love them for the chaos, or maybe you just like watching them. Maybe you just like to watch them, or you like to watch people like me flame the shows. It's all valid over here. If you made it this far, you're clearly my type of person, so stick around, because next time we diving into something probably a little more wild. That's like later on, or anime tropes so overused they deserve their own isekai reincarnation. But yeah, y'all, hit that sub button and join the party, and who knows, maybe next time I'll find a plot worse than Rent a Girlfriend. Actually, on second thought, nah, let's not test that. Let's not test that at all. But see y'all in the next one.